as far as we look at the politics that's come out today with Ted Cruz announcing his run for presidency. That's why we can't send a Mr. Smith to Washington. He's not going to make everything all better. He can't shut down the tyrannical bureaucracies that have taken on a life of their own. We have to start reasserting a constitutional government. That means a government with divided powers. That means a government where we can, using state nullification, which is a valid constitutional principle, we need to be able to shut down the tyrannical laws and the overreach of the federal government legally. And with jury nullification, we need to be able to shut down bad laws at both the federal and the state level. Until we are willing to do that, the rest of this stuff is really not much different than when you go to the supermarket and you put your toddler in the basket and they've got a wheel there that they can spin around. We're no longer driving this country. We're like the toddlers that have been given a wheel that doesn't connect to anything. We have to start taking back our liberty, and the way we do that is not by hoping that somebody's going to do the right thing if we elect enough of them to Washington. The way we do that is to block it down from the outside, because Washington, unfortunately, is too far gone, too corrupt, too much power and influence and corruption in that area. Now, of course, the person that probably will go to Washington as president next time is either going to be Jeb Bush or Hillary Clinton. Look at this article that came out of the Associated Press looking at his background in Florida. They said Jeb Bush aggressively used executive power as a Florida governor. He ruled as an executive tyrant as he criticizes Obama for doing so. Now, of course, his executive orders were things that the right could get behind, like shutting down affirmative action or giving us tax increases. Can we understand the difference between agreeing with somebody over a particular issue and disagreeing with the way they do it? Disagreeing with the fact that they act as a tyrant instead of following the democratic process. That's what Jeb Bush did as Florida's governor. That's what, of course, Obama has done as president. Yet the left won't criticize Obama because they agree with what he did in a dictatorial fashion, just as the right agreed with what Jeb Bush did in Florida in a dictatorial fashion. I don't want a dictator. Even if he's on the right side of the issues right now, he's going to be replaced further down the road with someone who is not on the right side of the issues. They pointed out that he said at the time, "We are doing the people's work, and I'm not going to let anybody, for any reason, stop us from doing that." Doesn't that sound an awful lot like Obama? Saying that the Republicans are just obstructing. He has to get something done, and he's not going to let them obstruct him. They say Bush was an aggressive chief executive throughout his tenure in Florida, pushing the limits of executive authority, bristling at legislative oversight, willing to work around the courts. So he doesn't care what the courts say, what the legislature says. He's going to enact his agenda. And even if I agree with what he got done, I would disagree with him. But listen to what he says about Obama. He says, "I think the next president is likely to undo much of the executive orders, particularly the ones where there was no constitutional authority to do these executive orders." That's what Jeb Bush is saying about that. Now, the New York Times points out that his reelection team in Florida, they consider Florida to be key. It has to be a cornerstone of the reelection. And so they have put together a team, and understand what the code name of that team is. It's called Homeland Security. And as I point out, it seeks to try to neutralize two potentially grave but homegrown threats. Yes, Homeland Security that was given to us by his brother was set up to take down homegrown threats, just like Jeb Bush is setting up his Homeland Security team initially to protect him politically. That's another part of it, continuity of government, or maybe we could say in the case of the Bushes, continuity of empire for their little family clan. Now, Ted Cruz came out today and announced his candidacy for president. He's going to be making that announcement at Liberty University. I thought it was interesting and very telling that his first commercial, as Drudge pointed out, was in Spanish language only. And again, we see that when we look at Luis Gutierrez, who just had an event in Southern California that was Spanish only, the right eviscerated him for that, and yet their candidate comes out with his first speech in Spanish, his first commercial in Spanish. And I guess when we look at this, one of the things that I'm concerned about with Ted Cruz personally, what bothers me about him, is the fact that I don't think he's qualified under the Constitution to run for president, because I don't think, as I understand it, that he meets the qualifications for a natural-born citizen. Now, those are not clearly stated, but the fundamental idea behind a natural-born citizen is that the person would have deep ties to the country, to the culture, to the system of government that we have, because they grew up in this country with parents who lived in this country, identified with this country as a citizen of this country. I mean, we look at what happened with the birthers. Are we going to have a double standard there as well? You had Obama, who had a foreign-born father who was an American citizen and an American mother. Now, the question was he born in Hawaii or was he born off of United States soil? But of course, in the case of Ted Cruz, it's exactly the same thing. He has a foreign-born father, he has an American mother, and he doesn't make any bones about the fact that he wasn't born in America. He was born in Canada. And so if we're going to complain about Obama's past, if we're going to complain about the fact that he doesn't seem to have the kinds of connections, and that's essentially it, more than arguing the legal basis of a natural-born citizen, the question is, does this person have the values of America at heart? And that's something everyone will have to decide for themselves. But I'm very concerned when we look at the fact that he's put this first commercial out in Spanish. Is he promoting the values of multiculturalism, which are not tolerance? Multiculturalism is very intolerant of the native cultures in whatever country that it is brought up in, whether it's in America or whether it's in Western Europe, because what they're trying to do is encourage people not to become part of a melting pot, not to become brothers as Americans. They're trying to get people to retain their distinctive cultures, their distinctive languages, which makes it very confusing. Are we going to have English or are we going to have Spanish as the official language of America in government? It's confusing enough when it's all written in English. We can't agree as to what it says. What are we going to do when it's multiple languages? But the issue is, does this person have the values of America at heart? It's very easy for someone to come in and to sound like a libertarian. Of course, someone as clever, as well-spoken as Ted Cruz can easily do that. But the question is he going to stand for America, or is he going to fall back to the roots of the involvement of his wife with the big banks, with Goldman Sachs? His father worked with the resistance against Castro. I'm sure he has CIA connections. Is he going to be the candidate of the North American Union, or is he going to be the candidate of America? We have someone with Canadian citizenship reaching out to people speaking Spanish. It sounds to me like he's running for the president of the North American Union.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. ancientdefense.com.